The heart of every organization is its people. We're taking action to take care of them, to develop a world-class team, now and into the future. This is Empowering Excellence with Art and Frankie.
Welcome back to another episode of Empowering Excellence with Art and Frankie. Oh, wait, no, it's not Frankie today. It's my deputy, Jen Carney. Hello, Jen.
Hello. I'm feeling good to be back.
Well, that's right. And you're not exactly a rookie at this. In fact, you are the podcast award-winning Jen Carney, as I recall.
Yes, but it was the whole team. I just happened to be lucky to sit in on that episode.
We have noted that when Jen comes in and does a guest hosting effort, that the podcast gets a lot more notoriety.
Podcasts are my life.
We'll try to keep the notoriety low this time, right?
I'll try to share the spotlight with you guys.
Awesome. Well, what's next?
That is the big question. We are out here, and even NAVWAR's got a NAVWAR Next. N squared, NN. What is that? So I think we're going to discuss that today.
I think we are. And we have with us today our esteemed Executive Director, John Pope. And John, it's been a minute since you've been on the podcast.
I was here, I think, for the very first Empowering Excellence. So I'm glad I got an invite back. I wasn't award-winning. I was absolutely thrilled to be there the first time. Glad you had me back.
Yeah, it's been a while. This is episode 24 that we're recording today. So that's the distance we like to keep our guests before we have them come back. That's
okay.
We've just set that new threshold that you can't come back for 23 episodes. So
I'll keep count.
So anyway, we're thrilled to have you back. Obviously, there's a lot going on. Talk to us about NAVWAR Next. What is that?
It's funny, we were talking to the other syscoms, NAVC is doing a NAVC Next, and NAVAIR is doing a NAVAIR Next. I think we were the first. It's been such a year with our DRP losses, the executive orders coming in every day, that caused so much change in our workforce. It's one of those things going, hey, this is the time to think, are we going to ask folks to just absorb all this change and just keep doing what we're doing, or do we want to kind of pivot to what's new, what's next? The year that Admiral O'Connor was here, it wasn't do things the usual way. It was challenge the way we do it, challenge instructions, processes. NAVWAR Next was trying to roll all those change things into something the workforce and we could tell externally is, here's where we're going.
With NAVAIR and NAVC copying us, wouldn't that make us trending?
They're following us.
We're setting the standard, so I really like that. If you could say one thing about NAVWAR Next, what would be your one catchphrase for it?
Ride the wave of change. We're in Southern California. There's so much change going on. It can be chaotic, or you can ride it and you can lead it. And so what we really wanted to do is to capture all these little bits of change and say, okay, how do we want to do cybersecurity better? How do we want to do fleet readiness better? How do we want to work our business processes so we execute faster? The combination of all the DRP losses, the executive orders, where the new administration wants to go, the fact that we're going to have a new NAVWAR commander, we're going to have a new CNO. There's a lot's coming. So do we want to be sitting back in, not in a status quo, but in what we're used to, or do we want to embrace what can move us quicker? That wave of change is going to happen whether we're riding it or not. I want us riding it. I don't want to get wiped out.
What are the big organizational changes that you see as part of NAVWAR Next?
Sure. NAVC doesn't make a destroyer great. NAVAIR doesn't make an aircraft great. The NAVWAR role in making those platforms more lethal is a big deal. And we have great partnerships. We wanted to kind of tune up our team as part of that partnership. So one of the big changes, standing up a Cybersecurity Directorate. When you came to NAVWAR, and cyber should be one of our keystone capabilities. You had to go to different places to get cybersecurity help if I'm a program office. We want to bring that expertise together so there's sort of a one-stop shop on cybersecurity, whether it's some of the administrative side of it or the engineering side and what we do with the fleet. Cyber was one thing, was to make sure that NAVWAR was known for our cyber leadership. And then the other piece was our logistics and fleet support and our fleet readiness directorate. both of them doing important missions. Both of them were hurt by DRP losses. So instead of just trying to regrow them, the idea was we'll combine them and leverage the strength of each team. And so we were able to get whole quicker that way, and also unified a bunch of efforts.
So cyber, fleet support, awesome. What about AI? How does AI play into this?
Yeah, AI is everywhere. We're trying to make sure it doesn't overrun us. If I'm a program manager or an APM, where do I go and get ground truth on how do I bring AI into my portfolios? Our warfare centers are working there across the DoD, the federal government, and then there's a lot of industries. What can we do to provide the very best on AI insight? We rolled that, some of it from our engineering side of the house, some from our CIO side, but also asking that our both warfare centers, how do I take all the knowledge you're doing in AI and help a program find that information?
Right. Within corporate operations, we're making extensive use of AI. A couple of weeks ago, I was going in to write up an award, something I typically would have spent probably a couple hours on. Maybe I'm slow. You feed a little bit of information into that, and what used to take me 2 hours to do, I can do in 5 minutes. That's an incredible force multiplier. You've mentioned DRP a couple of times. One of the themes that I think we've talked about is trying not to do more with less. And I just think AI is a huge, important component of that as we move forward with NAVWAR Next.
Have you embraced AI in the front office?
I have. Like art, I'm like, wow, it takes me a long time to write creatively. It gives you a good starting point. Then you go spend a few minutes to kind of make sure it says what you want it to say. AI shouldn't rule you. AI is your wingman in some respects to help you kind of get over it. And for the engineer, which I am, if somebody said, here's a blank sheet of paper, write a paragraph, that's like the worst punishment you can give me. Somebody can give me a little bit of a prompt, a little bit of a lead, then I'm ready to go and make it really good.
You talked a little bit about riding that wave. This change is happening, whether we're part of it or not, and we don't want that wave to roll over the top of us. Obviously, we're here to serve the fleet. What are the biggest problems that you see that we can solve through NAVWAR Next?
We're trying to figure out ways to make sure that when a fleet goes, this is a problem, who owns these different pieces of it? I would hope that NAVWAR Next sets us up for that we're more able to go, that's an AI question, here's where we're going. That's a cyber component, here's where we're going. But also just says, for stuff that we're really good at, how do we get even better at it? How do I move money faster to get to that capability quicker? How do I award that contract faster? And when I come up with a new capability, how do I train sailors on it so they can understand it quicker? Those are things that we've always been good at and gotten better at. The Admiral would say our exponential thinking, I don't want to be linear here. I want to go say, I want AI or other tools to go, hey, I can go even faster on figuring these things out. And so that's all for setting us up for a future wartime environment. We absolutely need that new way of thinking.
Talk about time scope. Is this a 5-year plan or is this a now plan?
So that's a good question. Thanks, Art. We're just trying to figure out is, hey, between now and October, what's the change we want to make and get those changes cemented in so it doesn't become a 5-year plan. Now, does it mean a year from now when we go, wait, the environment changed or I just learned something, we can't make another set of changes? We will. We want to make sure for the workforce, it wasn't like a year after year slowly melting glacier story. It was a defined period of time. We'll make some decisions and we'll go execute, and we're agile. We'll go figure out what we should do next.
So it's going to be evolutionary, I would assume. It's at this point. It's that not by 1 October, this is going to be set in stone, but it's going to be kind of a living.
We should embrace change every day. For the workforce to know what are the big changes, like standing up a cyber directorate or merging two groups, that's a pretty big change. We want to get that locked down. But we also go, all right, what is the fleet telling us we need to do more of? And then if we need to make a change to do it, we'll make that change. Evolutionary, sometimes people go, oh, evolutionary sounds kind of boring, but not everything has to be revolutionary. The reality is we want to sense the environment and then adapt to it as fast as we can.
Looking at it from the evolutionary perspective of that it's not set in stone. I'm not saying that, hey, once we set up this cyber directorate, we're going to come up with this standard set of rules and that's it. We'll have the cyber directorate stood up, but hey, there may be some changes that are coming. There are some things that we processed it this way. Now that we've done it and we've done it a few times, that doesn't make sense. Kind of like machine learning, right? Where we go in and we start to do things, it comes out a particular way. We're like, that's not really the way we want it to do. So we give it more information, give it more guidance. It comes back out, gives us better feedback. So that's how I'm looking at it.
All right, I see why she's the AI ML czar.
I know. Well, I've been hanging out with Ben Moten for a while, you know.
I'm intrigued.
You have to teach it to learn. So I think that that's how we can apply things, especially in their organization, right? Is we ask AI and we train AI to become smarter. Same thing with machine learning and some of those other ones. But we have to do the same thing for the organization, right? We have to make sure that the organization, a part of NAVWAR Next, my personal opinion, but we have to do the same thing, right? We have to teach ourselves how to get smarter, how to adapt, how to be a little bit quicker on things and achieve that end result, because we've done it one way. It may have been a 95% solution, but how do we get to the 100% solution?
One of the words John used that is maybe even more descriptive is agile. Yeah. This is helping us become more agile so we can better serve and more quickly serve the fleet.
And our core values for 8.0.
Exactly.
There you go. The hiring freeze is slowly thawing. And as we were able to hire and recruit, the agility, the evolutionary changes, we don't want to hire somebody and they're going, okay, I came into the static NAVWAR team. We want them to come in and go, bring your great new ideas. And then if we need to change because you illuminated something we've been doing the 1980s way versus the 2020s way, we're going to make those changes. For recruiting and retaining our workforce, NAVWAR Next is saying, hey, this is not yesterday's NAVWAR. And I don't know what tomorrow's looks like. We're going to learn every day. And I know there's more pure ways of describing agile. There's some jobs, and it's like you started the job and you finished the job and you did your business the same way year 4 as you did year 1. And I don't think that's how we are in NAVWAR. We're always looking for that change, and we owe it to the warfighter to do that.
Absolutely.
Their war is changing every day. We have to adapt as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Started kind of segueing us into the people part of this. And on this podcast, we call it Empowering Excellence. So maybe let's talk a little bit about what does this mean to the individual NAVWAR employee, how it impacts them, what are we looking for from them?
One of the things we did well during the DRP is the constant comms, the daily comms. And I really appreciate getting those out there because that NAVWAR employee we don't hire the person and go, trust us, it'll all be fine. We'll send you the memo. We want to communicate all the changes coming. We want to make sure we're getting their feedback. I mean, I think it's been really good. All the different avenues in using Teams, you're certainly getting everybody's thoughts. And then we've been very good about answering those. What I want from the workforce is to access the information, figure out what does this change mean to me? And then our HR team or wherever it is, our expert advice is like, here's what this directive says. Here's what it means to you as a workforce. The last thing we want is somebody worried about your future. You're certainly not able to put 100% into your job. So I think we've done a great job answering it, but we absolutely want those questions from the workforce. And then we try and answer them as fast as we can.
I like what you said about, we want the workforce to not be concerned about their future. And the reality of it is the DRP, while painful, that was all voluntary. I think every NAVWAR employee who wanted to stay and keep being part of the NAVWAR team has been able to do that.
Yep.
And I think, from my perspective as a competency lead in corporate operations, one of the things that the DRP law forces you to really zero in on what is the highest priority work that you have. What is the thing that provides the most value, in our case, Jen, to supporting the other competencies and the PEOs? What are the most important things that we're doing? And then make sure that our labor and our talent is focused on those things when we're putting our best foot forward there. There is a positive to it also, despite the pain of having fewer people to do the work.
And we did lose a lot of our brain power or some of the knowledge bank that we had. A lot of people that had been here for a while. And good or bad, it is bad that we do lose some of that knowledge, right? There's the corporate history, the corporate knowledge, and we don't necessarily always have the ability to reach back. But to your point, Mr. Pope, that we go and look at it from the perspective that, okay, now we're bringing people on that are bringing in those new ideas that you're talking about, that they're bringing in different ways and challenging the standard and challenging status quo. But I also look forward to the new individuals that will be coming on and the different perspectives and the training that they've received in AI, in ML, in a lot of these large language models and some of the other stuff to help us get to that next level. And I think that's an opportunity we can seize here at the command.
The Admiral started with the wolf pack, bringing in some of those new hired employees and using that as an opportunity for the Admiral and I and leadership to hear from them and have them kind of look at some of the problems that we look at with that fresh set of eyes. They don't have the corporate history, so they're like, we don't need to worry about the way we've always done it. We're going to go do it this way. That sets the stage for, as we recruit, as we ask employees, throw out your ideas. We used to have suggestion boxes where somebody put a piece of paper in a suggestion box. Now we have Ask Me Anythings. We have all the forums. We don't make it hard for you to do that. You don't have to put it in a suggestion box. You can say, hey, I want to spin up a Teams channel and I want to talk about how do I use AI to do contracting better. I guarantee you'll have plenty of people throwing in their ideas. It lowers the inertia needed to get going on a new idea. And I think that's what we want the workforce to feel empowered to do. And I realized change is hard. I absolutely missed some of the folks that left us, but it was voluntary. Everybody had their own career thoughts when they did that. So I certainly never judged anybody about what the decision on DRP was. But what I want to make sure is the team that's left and the team we grow is ready to go get after the change that's coming.
To a future NAVWAR employee or Navy employee, they're looking at all this change going on and they're like, I don't know if I want to go work for them. What would you say to somebody who's kind of on the fence about coming to work for NAVWAR?
I want you to join a team that says, hey, in 1 year or in 6 months, you're going to go from concept to a fleet prototype that a sailor is going to be using. And by the way, when you're here at NAVWAR, when you want to go sit with your customer, they're 10 minutes away. You can go sit with a sailor looking at what you've done and getting that direct feedback. And then you can make that fix and evolve it that quickly. That's got to be more appealing than, hey, in 8 years, you might see an output in the fleet. And that's what I want us to reinforce and make sure as we're hiring, we're providing those opportunities and that illumination. And whether you're the program manager for that or whether you're the contract specialist helping enable that, I want every one of those employees to see my efforts resulted this fast in the fight. What could be better than that?
So if I could summarize what you said to that future NAVWAR employee, NAVWAR is an awesome place to work. We're open for business. We're doing awesome things for the fleet. The hiring freeze is thawing, and we want you.
We want you to ride the wave with us.
That's right.
There's exciting change coming. It is never going to be, I go to a program or work on one thing, and that's all I do. There's so many different dimensions. We want your thoughts, your passion to show up at work. We're trying to make an environment where you are not sitting in your cubicle all day. You are engaged with your team and with other teams.
We've done a superior job of trying to take care of the employee through change, stressing to our supervisors that they need to look after their team. We had the NAVWAR Wellness event, the wellness speakers. We're invested in our employees. What's next with NAVWAR Next? What are the next few big things we're going to see?
We're looking at things like ship modernization between the PEOs who are producing the product and our FRD team that installs them. There's a handoff between the two of them. So then the handoff has always been dynamic. And so the team is looking at what's the best way to do that better. Because one of the things we want to do is if we have a great capability, we want to get it on board a ship or submarine as fast as possible. So the next piece is how do we do our shore nodes and how do we maintain, update them? You hear the term fight from the mock. How do we make our Maritime Operations Center more lethal? We're working between headquarters and two PEOs. What's the best way for us to support those shore nodes? So those are the next pieces NAVWAR Next we're working on. We'll kind of reach a decision point, probably the August, September point. That'll just pretty much close up all the big decisions we want to make for NAVWAR Next. And then after that, we will constantly look at and look for improvements with that. So that's coming.
Awesome.
That's next.
That's next. Oh, there we go.
Is there anything about NAVWAR Next that we didn't ask you about that you would like to share? Change
is never comfortable. The Admiral always would say, if you're not uncomfortable, we're not working. None of this was ever meant to be, I'm here to make the entire, 11,000 person workforce uncomfortable. But I also, want to make sure that everybody knows is, the environment is changing. We got to change with it. A little bit of discomfort, a little bit of wondering, a little bit of like, what's my role and how to make this better? That's not bad. I'd say is we did talk about that, but that change is coming. We're in it. We don't get to avoid it. But we also want to make sure is if you have a question or something's making you uncomfortable about the change, that you have access to the information. We will get you what the insights you need. We do not want a workforce worried. We do want a workforce that's challenged and ready to go after the next thing. I think we're headed there. That's what's next.
Well said. Love it.
Well, we were sitting this weekend on the beach, having lunch, watching the waves break and the surfers out there. So maybe that's where I got my ride the wave analogy from, because, as I've ever tried to ride a surfboard, I usually ended up, face down. When you ride one well, get all that power to push you forward, and it may not be the prettiest ride, but it's pretty exhilarating. I feel the same way about where we're going with NAVWAR Next, but I want us to ride that together because that's how we're going to win for the Navy. So I'm excited.
I think you just coined the tagline for NAVWAR Next. Ride the IW waves
there we
with
go.
NAVWAR.
Yeah.
I see an AI-generated logo coming up next.
Look at you going all AI.
Jen, you've inspired me, so let's go.
Yeah, I love it.
Well, John, this has been fantastic. Sorry it took us 23 episodes to get you back on again, but we know you're a busy man, and we appreciate you taking the time out to come down and not just talk to us, but talk to the NAVWAR workforce and the Navy as a whole about what NAVWAR Next means.
I'm excited. The NAVWAR surfboard's big enough. We're all riding the wave together, so ready to go.
Awesome.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Empowering Excellence with Art and Frankie is a production of the NAVWAR Headquarters Public Affairs Office in association with NAVWAR Corporate Operations. Our podcast production team includes Ed Disco Buckleton, Kara McDermott, and Ramon Go, our digital media specialist who produced today's show. On behalf of Frankie and myself, I am Art Starrett. Have a great Navy day.